The lights were too bright. That's the first thing I remember. They weren't just bright. They were aggressive, flickering above like judgmental gods watching me fail. 40 pairs of eyes stared back from the conference table, but I couldn't see their faces anymore. Everything had started to blur. My hands gripped the podium with a desperation I hoped didn't show. And, as you can see from our Q3 projections, my voice trembled. The PowerPoint on the screen turned to soup. Charts that once made sense melted into colors. My throat tightened. My heartbeat wasn't pounding. It was sprinting, like it was trying to outrun something. My skin turned cold, then hot, then cold again. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I barely managed to whisper my name, Sophia. And then my legs gave out. The floor was harder than I expected. My eyes caught a glimpse of the ceiling panels spinning like carousel horses in a dream. And then blackness. And again. No, I remember voices first. Call 911, is she breathing? Clear the room, and Sarah, my assistant, bless her, crying as she hovered above me. Her mascara was a mess. Sophia, stay with us, okay? Please. Stay with us. My lips moved. I think I whispered, call my parents. I don't remember if anyone heard. Next came the cold. Hospital cold. Machines beeping. Bright lights. Words I didn't understand. Cardiac arrhythmia. Surgery. Stabilize her. I heard a nurse say something about prepping my arm for the IV. I begged her, actually begged for my phone. My family. Please, I need to call them. She hesitated, but then handed it to me. Maybe she saw something in my eyes, fear, maybe, or hope. I don't know. I called my mother. Voicemail. I called my father. Voicemail. My hands were shaking, my thumb barely able to type, but I sent a text anyway. Mum, I'm in the hospital. Emergency surgery. Please come. Dad, I'm scared. They never replied. I woke up hours later in the ICU alone. Machines beeped softly, tracking a heart that had literally stopped hours ago. My body was exhausted, stitched together by medical miracles, but my spirit was fraying. Sarah had left a note on the side table. Be back tomorrow. You're a fighter. Only immediate family was allowed after visiting hours. Immediate family, what a joke. At 3:00 a.m., a nurse came to check my vitals. She had kind eyes, soft hands, and a gentleness that made me feel human again. Your mother left a voicemail earlier, she said. My chest tightened. Can I hear it? She nodded, handed over my phone. And then I heard it. Hi, sweetie. We got your messages. But we can't come right now. Hazel's having an absolute meltdown over the paint color in her new apartment. She's inconsolable. You know how she gets. We'll try to stop by tomorrow if she's feeling better. Love you. The nurse's expression twisted into something close to pain. Would you like me to call someone else? She asked quietly. I turned away, tears hot on my face. It wasn't the first time my family had made me feel invisible, but it was the first time it almost cost me my life. A memory bubbled up like acid. Last Christmas, Hazel had maxed out 3 credit cards, $50,000 of debt. I wrote the check without flinching. Thanks, Sophie, Mom had said, barely looking up from arranging Hazel's new handbag collection. You're such a good sister, good daughter, good girl, good and forgotten. I looked at the nurse. Actually, I whispered, can I have my phone back? She handed it to me, probably thinking I'd call my family again. I didn't. I called Derek, my lawyer. Bring the papers, I said. All of them. Are you sure? He asked, concern clear in his voice. I almost died today, Derek, I said. And my family was picking paint swatches. I've never been more sure in my life. Derek arrived the next morning, just after sunrise, still in his suit from the day before. His tie was slightly crooked, his hair tousled. He hadn't slept. I knew that look. He was worried, but he was also ready. He didn't ask how I was. He just looked at me, hooked up to machines and recovering from heart surgery, and said, "Tell me where to start." The first thing we tackled was the will. I had no children, no spouse, my estate. Everything I'd built through 2 decades of tireless work had always been earmarked for my parents and my sister, because that's what a good daughter does. But lying in that hospital bed, barely breathing on my own, I realized something brutal and freeing. They were never going to be there when it really mattered. So, page by page, we changed everything. Derek read out loud one clause at a time, while I signed with trembling but deliberate hands. Clause 4, all named beneficiaries shall be updated to exclude approved, I said. He glanced at me. Sophia, you don't have to rush this. I'm not rushing, I'm just done waiting. When we got to the financial accounts, the ones I'd used for years to bail Hazel out of mess after mess, I felt a cold satisfaction bloom in my chest, the same chest that had stopped beating 24 hours ago. Hazel's access is gone, Derek confirmed. So is your parents'. From now on, your name's the only one on those accounts. Good. Finally. He hesitated before the next document. The summer house, he said. The one in Florida. I nodded. List it today if you can. They vacation there every year. Not anymore. Around noon, my phone buzzed. A text from Mum. Hazel picked the perfect shade of sage. Crisis averted. How are you feeling, sweetie? I stared at it, then handed it to Derek. He read it, let out a low whistle. They really are something else. I opened the family group chat. My fingers flew across the screen. Still in ICU after emergency heart surgery. Thanks for asking. Glad Hazel's walls are sage instead of seafoam. Definitely worth missing your daughter's near-death experience for. Derek raised an eyebrow, poking the bear. Waking it up, I said. The phone lit up again almost immediately. Mum. Don't be dramatic, Sophie. The doctor said you're stable. Dad. We'll visit soon. Hazel, OMG. Why are you trying to make my apartment crisis about you? I turned the phone face down. Keep going, I told Derek. By the time he left that afternoon, we had filed a revised will, cut off all financial access, listed the family vacation home, drafted legal letters, formally severing dependency. It was brutal, necessary, long overdue. That night, Camilla showed up. She wasn't just a friend, she was the kind of person who brought you coffee and rage at the same time. That rare breed of friend who knew how to comfort and push you forward in the same breath. I just saw Hazel's Instagram story she announced, thrusting a coffee into my hands. Full home makeover reveal. Caption, crisis over. Thanks to my amazing parents for dropping everything to help. I laughed. It hurt, but I laughed anyway. Of course, I said. Wouldn't want to miss a crown molding emergency. Camilla sat beside me and didn't ask the obvious questions. She just said, I'm proud of you. Whatever this is, it's long overdue. 38 years, I murmured, taking a sip of coffee. I've had a lot of time to think. Derek had offered to file the papers the next day to give me more time to reconsider. I told him no. File them now. It wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. That night I tried to sleep, but my mind was loud. It rewound every memory I'd suppressed. Hazel crying at my college graduation because she wasn't the center of attention. Mom skipping my startup's launch party because Hazel had a bad date. Dad joking that I was the stable one so I could handle the disappointment. That phrase echoed in my head. You're the strong one. No one ever checked if I wanted to be. Around 3:00 a.m., my phone rang. Hazel. I picked it up. I was done hiding. Her voice exploded through the receiver. How dare you, I blinked. Good morning to you too. You're ruining everything. Mum's been crying for hours. Dad had to take a Xanax. I adjusted the hospital bed, slowly sitting upright. Fascinating. They couldn't cry when I was dying, but they can cry over losing access to my credit cards. You need to call Derek and undo all this. Or what? Or I'll never speak to you again, I laughed. For real this time. From my chest. Hazel, is that supposed to be a threat? She pivoted like she always did when manipulation didn't work. Remember when you promised to always take care of me? I did remember. I remembered everything. I remembered selling Grandma's ring to pay off Hazel's gambling debt. I remembered watching her thank me with a shopping spree. You always need, I said. And I always give. Well, guess what? I'm done. Warning, she tried again. Mom wants to meet. One last family meeting. Fine. Tomorrow. Noon. Hospital cafeteria. She hesitated. But my contract at noon, I repeated. Take it or leave it. And Camilla's coming. What, why? Because I'm done being outnumbered. The next day they came. Mum, Dad, Hazel. Dressed to impress like we were brunching at the Ritz. Camilla sat beside me, arms crossed, radiating calm fury. Let's talk rationally, Mum began. Like ignoring your daughter's cardiac arrest, Camilla cut in. This is a family matter, Hazel snapped. Funny, I said. I was family when you needed rent money. Not when I needed a heartbeat. Dad lifted his hands like a referee. Let's stay calm. Too late for calm, I said. Hazel's iced latte slammed onto the table. Do you know what this is doing to me? She shouted. My followers can feel the tension, Camilla snorted. Your sister almost died. You're worried about your brand. Hazel turned on her like a storm. Stay out of this. No, I said. You did this all by yourselves. Was Mum's tears arrived on cue. We can fix this, sweetie. Just call Derek. Let's make it go away. It's done, I said. The house is in escrow. The accounts are closed. The will is rewritten. Hazel exploded. You ungrateful. Her latte went flying toward Camilla. Security moved fast. As Hazel screamed down the hallway, I turned to my parents. We're done here. Mom's voice cracked. We miss you. Can't we just go back? No, I said, standing. Because I'm not going back. I'm going forward. I thought the worst was over. Thought that with Hazel escorted out of the cafeteria, my parents gaping in silence, and Camilla firmly by my side, that this chapter was closing. But I should have known. People like them don't retreat quietly. They reload. 2 days after the family meeting, I was home recovering in a new apartment, a space I'd chosen for the first time with no one else's opinion involved. Derek was helping me transfer assets, organize my new legal documents, and reclaim my life from a system I never asked to be part of. That's when the email arrived. Subject line. Your father's medical records attached was a scanned report. The sender was anonymous. Inside a single line, highlighted in yellow, hereditary heart condition diagnosed. Patient Harold Wells. I called Derek immediately. What the hell is this? I asked, hands shaking. Open it, he said, already sounding tense. I did. And there it was. My father had been diagnosed with the same heart condition that nearly killed me, and my family had known. They hadn't just abandoned me during a crisis. They'd never told me I was at risk for one. They knew, I whispered. They knew Derek. I had it verified, he said quietly. Hazel's been monitored for this since she was a child. Your parents never told you because they didn't think I mattered, I finished. Rage wasn't even the right word. It was deeper, older, colder. A grief that had been simmering under the surface for decades, now boiling over with the weight of a truth I hadn't known I was missing. My life, my body, my survival. They gambled it away for convenience. Derek, I said calmly. Remember when I told you Hazel's conservatorship claim was ridiculous? Yeah. Good. Release my medical records to the court, prove I'm competent. Then leak the fact that they withheld this information knowingly. There was silence. That's nuclear, Sophia. I looked out the window. They nearly let me die, I said. It feels appropriate. In Tao. Later that day, Derek called again. She's escalating, he said. Her lawyer sent a cease and desist, claiming your blog caused her emotional trauma. I snorted. She started a war, and is shocked I fought back. I already countersued, he added, for harassment, defamation, and emotional distress. We'll win. All. As I hung up my inbox, dinged again. A message from Hazel's ex-boyfriend, Nicholas. You should see this. Attached was a video. Hazel pacing her apartment, screaming at our parents. Fix this, make her stop. I'm the one who matters. I'm your real daughter. I stared at the screen. They'd created her, enabled her, worshipped her, and now she was turning on them too. That evening, another message came, from an unknown number, a photo of my grandmother's ring, the one I'd sold to pay Hazel's debts, missing something. Want it back, meet me. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because Derek had already returned it to me weeks ago quietly, like everything he did with care and no expectation of thanks. And just when I thought I'd seen it all, my parents called, together, for the first time in months. How's due? Dad's voice was strained. Princess, we need to talk. Can we meet? No, I said. Mom jumped in. It's about something important, something we should have told you long ago. That piqued my interest. I agreed to meet them, but this time I brought back up Camilla and Derek. I arrived at the family home standing in the same driveway where I once cried before prom because Hazel had ruined my dress. The house looked smaller than I remembered. Inside, it smelled like lavender polish and desperation. You brought security, Mom asked, her voice brittle. I brought witnesses, I replied. Dad exhaled like this was all some kind of performance. Sophia, just listen. This is hard for us. Then Mom said it. It's about your adoption. The floor didn't fall out from under me, but my world did shift sideways. What are you talking about? I asked. Mom twisted her wedding ring, a habit I'd always mistaken for stress. You're not our biological daughter, she said. You're Sarah's. Sarah, my aunt, her sister, the one who died in a car crash when I was 2. We took you in after she died. You were just a baby. Sit. Every breath felt like a betrayal. You let me believe I was your daughter, I said. You are, Dad insisted. We raised you. You abandoned me, I corrected. You gave Hazel everything and me, nothing but responsibility. Hazel came down the stairs, then smug as ever. Oh, good. She finally knows she's not really my sister. She smiled at me like she'd won something. I looked at her, then at my parents, and for the first time I felt absolutely nothing. I'm not your daughter, I said to Mom. I'm not your sister, I said to Hazel. I'm Sarah's daughter, and I'm done carrying your secrets. Then I collected my childhood photo albums, my documents, things that actually belonged to me. Hazel tried to stop me. That's my baby book, she screamed, lunging. The officer stepped between us. These are mine, I said calmly. Sarah's things, not yours. At the door, Mum tried one last time. We gave you everything. No, I said. You gave me guilt. I earned everything else myself. We'll sue, Hazel shrieked behind me. Go ahead, I said, pausing at the threshold, but be prepared to lose everything, including your mask. Knew I stepped out into the light, Camilla beside me, Derek a few feet behind, and I didn't look back. Not once. and so. Later that night, I held my grandmother's ring in my hand, now worn on a delicate chain around my neck. It felt lighter, like truth, like armor. The phone buzzed, one last text from Dad. We made mistakes, but we loved you. Please don't shut us out forever. I didn't reply, not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. Some bridges don't need rebuilding, some need to burn. Grief is a strange thing. It doesn't always come when someone dies. Sometimes it shows up when you finally realize a relationship you needed never really existed. Sometimes it arrives after you let go of the fantasy that your family will change. Sometimes it looks a lot like freedom. The morning after I walked out of the house I'd once called home, I brewed coffee in my new apartment and watched the steam curl into the sunlight. No screaming, no expectations, no emergencies that weren't mine, just silence and me. Morn I opened my laptop and pulled up the blog post I'd written but never published. The title stared back at me. The Silent Sister, a story about boundaries, betrayal, and becoming. It wasn't about revenge, not anymore. It was about visibility, about truth, about choosing myself out loud. I hit publish. By noon, it had over 10,000 shares. By evening, over 100,000. Comments poured in. This is my life. Thank you for writing it. I left my toxic family today. Your story gave me courage. I thought I was alone. You proved I'm not. Camilla came over that night with 2 glasses of wine and a grin. You're trending, she said, waving her phone. I checked Twitter. The hashtag #SilentSister was everywhere. People were sharing stories of being the forgotten child, the scapegoat, the emotionally responsible sibling in dysfunctional families. It wasn't just my story anymore. It was ours. That night, I slept better than I had in years. No dreams of being left behind, only the calm certainty that I was exactly where I needed to be. The next morning, Derek called. Your inbox is about to explode, he said. Media requests, interview offers, book deals. I laughed softly. That escalated fast. He hesitated. Sophia, are you okay with this being public? I didn't even have to think. Let them know the truth. No names, just facts. The rest speaks for itself. A week later, the publishing offer came through. A memoir, a guide, a story for anyone who had ever felt like they had to earn love that should have been unconditional. Or Hazel's response came quickly. A public meltdown at a charity gala. Caught on video screaming at a waitress over a conspiracy of betrayal. Trending again, just not in the way she wanted. Nicholas sent me the footage. She's unraveling, he said. Let her, I replied. That's her work to do now, not mine. Another email arrived, this time from Dad. I was wrong. We were all wrong. Not just in how we treated you, but in how we defined family. You're stronger than any of us ever were. I read it twice, then deleted it, not out of malice, but because I no longer needed his words to validate my strength. In the weeks that followed, I launched a virtual support group, just a small Zoom room at first. But people kept showing up, week after week. They brought their pain, their guilt, their small victories, like standing up to a manipulative parent or finally saying no without apology. One day during a session on boundaries, a woman said, I thought choosing myself meant I was selfish, but maybe it means I'm finally safe. And I cried, because I knew exactly what she meant. Derek visited the new apartment with a package in hand. Inside, nestled in velvet, was the ring, my grandmother's ring, the one I sold for Hazel, the one he bought back without ever being asked. "It's yours again," he said. "Thought you might want to wear it differently now." He'd had it turned into a necklace, a symbol no longer of loss but of survival. I wore it immediately. Then came the donation. I used part of the money from selling the family home to fund cardiac screening for low-income women at the local hospital. I named the program after Sarah, my mother, the only one who never had a chance to protect me, but somehow still lived inside the parts of me that had learned how to survive. As the weeks turned into months, life settled into a new rhythm. Not peaceful exactly, but honest, authentic, mine. Oh. And Hazel made more noise, of course. Another lawsuit threat. Another attempt to sell our story to tabloids. Another Instagram breakdown about betrayal. But I didn't react anymore. Because the people who know me don't need explanations. And the people who don't, they're not my responsibility. On the 1-year anniversary of the day my heart stopped, I hosted a live online gathering. Over 2,000 people logged on. We didn't talk about trauma that night. We talked about healing, about the difference between walking away and giving up, about choosing peace over performance. After the session ended, I sat quietly on my balcony, the necklace warm against my skin, the stars above brighter than they'd ever looked. Camilla texted me, "Proud of you. You did it. You broke the cycle." I replied, "We all did. Together." Some people inherit legacies. I inherited silence. But I turned it into a story. Into strength. Into something that might make someone else feel seen. And that more than any apology or inheritance or empty praise felt like a life worth living. I thought peace would feel like silence, like the absence of chaos. But I've learned that real peace, true peace, doesn't come from silence. It comes from choosing your own noise, your own narrative, your own name. The book came out 3 months after the blog exploded. The Silent Sister, not just a memoir, but a mirror for people who'd lived in the shadow of golden siblings of invisible labor, of parental expectations so loud they drowned out identity. It debuted on 3 bestseller lists, but more important than the rankings were the emails. Thousands of them. "You saved my life." I finally said no. I walked away. And still in the background, Hazel raged. She posted stories about family betrayal, claimed I was mentally unstable, tried to sell her version of the story to gossip blogs, none of which would take it. Too many receipts, too much truth, too many people who knew the difference. One afternoon, Derek called me. She filed another temporary conservatorship request, he said. Same claim: emotional instability, erratic behavior, inability to manage finances. I laughed. It wasn't bitter anymore, just tired. She never learned how to live without my help, I said, and now she can't stand that I'm thriving without hers. We responded with a single document, a clean bill of mental and emotional health, signed by my therapist's 3 character witnesses, and my publishing contract. The judge dismissed the request in under 5 minutes. Derek said the clerk actually rolled her eyes. Later that week, Camilla and I walked through the new cardiac care wing of the hospital I'd funded. There was a plaque on the wall, the Sarah Wells Memorial Cardiology Program, in honor of a mother's quiet legacy and a daughter's chosen voice. I cried the moment I saw it, this time not because I was broken, but because I had built something beautiful from everything that tried to destroy me. A mum emailed once more. A scanned photo of me at age 5 sitting on her lap at some beach resort. The message read, "We weren't perfect, but we did love you. Please, don't let hate erase that." I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I clicked archive. Because I didn't hate them, I just didn't trust them. and sometimes that's enough of a reason to let go. A week later, Camilla handed me an invitation, Hazel's wedding, to Nicholas. Yes, that Nicholas. Are you kidding me? I asked. She shook her head. They're getting married in Tuscany, no press allowed, only close family. The invitation was addressed to me. Just me, no +1. Oh, I didn't respond. I wasn't angry, just uninterested. Some stories don't need a sequel. On a quiet Sunday morning, I hosted one final online session. Not because I was done helping people, but because I wanted them to help each other. I started this journey as someone trying to prove I mattered, I told the group, but now I know the truth. You don't have to prove anything to people who refuse to see you. That night, I packed a suitcase, not to escape, but to move, not to run away, but to go toward something. I'd bought a small house on the California coast, with light and air and space for quiet. A place I chose, not to impress anyone, not to hide, just to be. On my last night in the city, I walked past my old office building, the one where I collapsed, heart racing, the beginning of it all. I stood outside, stared up at the flickering lights, and I smiled, not with bitterness, but with recognition. I had died there in a way, but I had also woken up. A stranger passing by looked at me and said, "You okay?" I nodded. "Yeah," I said, "I really am." The next morning, I left behind a note in my empty apartment. To the next person who lives here, may this be a place where you learn how to put yourself first. May the walls hold your voice, not your silence. And may you always know when to walk away. Driving down the Pacific Coast Highway, the wind through my windows, and the necklace over my heart, I felt something shift, the kind of shift that doesn't come from court victories or Instagram claps, but from reclaiming the one thing I was never allowed to have myself. Some people inherit money, some inherit trauma. I inherited a legacy of invisibility. But I rewrote it. I spoke up. I chose me. And I will never apologize for that again. As the ocean came into view, I whispered into the wind, "Sarah, I hope you see me." And for the first time in my life, I believed someone did.